Thank you.
Thank you. So the Wobblies were prolific writers. They churned out dozens of periodicals and propaganda pamphlets, but it was their songs of hope, unity, and humor, spun out of anger and frustration at life's injustices, that resonated with the masses. As Joe Hill said in a letter from jail,
"A pamphlet, no matter how good, is never read more than once. But a song is learned by heart and repeated over and over. And I maintain that if a person can put a few cold common sense facts into a song and dress them up in a cloak of humor to take the dryness off them, he will succeed in reaching a great number of workers who are unwilling to read a pamphlet or an editorial on economic science."
So up on the screen right now is the famous Little Red Songbook. The Wobblies sold thousands of copies of this songbook for 10 cents. Like Woody Guthrie, Joe Hill wrote a lot of his songs to melodies that people already knew, that people were familiar with. And the reason for that was that people could learn the songs very quickly because they already knew the melody. And so every Wobbly had the Little Red Songbook in his back pocket, and when it was time to sing, he whipped it out, and there were the lyrics, and he or she already knew the melody, so it made it easy for people to sing along. Now, the city councils in Spokane, Washington, San Diego, and Fresno, California passed ordinances banning Wobbly soapboxers. And of course, the Wobblies would defy these ordinances, and then they'd get arrested and thrown in jail. And so then they would put out a nationwide call for Wobblies around the country to hop a freight train, come to town, soapbox, get arrested, and jam the jails. So there were a few women soapboxers. In 1912, the San Diego chief of police said,
"I cannot punish them. Listen to them singing. They're singing all the time and yelling and hollering and telling the jailers to quit work and join the union."
So Elizabeth Gurley Flynn was the inspiration for the next song we're going to sing, and it's called Rebel Girl. She gave her first Wobbly speech in 1906 when she was age 15, and she went to jail many times for the Wobblies. She was a leader of the 1912 strike of 10,000 workers at the American Woolen Company in Lawrence, Massachusetts. This is a famous strike called the Bread and Roses Strike. The women wanted bread, but they also wanted roses. So most of the workers were immigrant women, and they made $8.76 a week, okay? Their wages were cut by 32 cents, and that was a lot of money for them, and they went out on strike. The strike went on from January to March in 1912, and it was settled when the company offered a raise from 5 to 11%. Now, Joe Hill felt that the Wobblies needed to get more women into the union. He said,
"Women are more exploited than men. The IWW has sadly neglected women and has created a kind of one-legged freakish animal of a union."
He recommended that female organizers like Elizabeth Gurley Flynn focus exclusively on getting women into the union. So this is the Rebel Girl. Okay, this goes out to all you rebel girls out there. This is a wonderful song by Joe Hill.
Yes, and Joe Hill wrote one of his many letters to Elizabeth Gurley Flynn and said to her, "I should like to kiss you, Gurley, not so much because you're a girl, but because you are the original rebel girl." There are women of many descriptions in this cruel world, as everyone knows. Some are living in beautiful mansions and wearing the finest of clothes. There are blue-blooded queens and princesses who have charms made of diamonds and pearls. And the only thoroughbred lady is the rebel girl. She's the rebel girl, to the working class She's a shining pearl from Maine to Tennessee. She's fighting for you and for me. She's right there by your side with courage and pride. She's unequal in this world, and I am proud to fight for freedom with the rebel girl. Yes, her hands may be hardened by labor, and her dress may not be so fine, but the heart in her bosom is beating. That is true to her class and her kind. And bosses in terror are trembling as her spite and defiance she'll hurl. And the only thoroughbred lady is the rebel girl. She's the rebel girl to the working class. She's a shining pearl from Maine to Tennessee. She's fighting for you and for me. She's right there by your side with courage and pride. She's unequal in this world, and I am proud to fight for freedom with the rebel girl. Yes, I am proud to fight for freedom with the rebel girl. Thank you. So, in January of 1914, Joe Hill was falsely accused of murdering 2 men in a Salt Lake City grocery store. He was put on trial using the flimsiest evidence, while evidence that clearly pointed to his innocence was ignored by the court. On June 27, 1914, Joe Hill was convicted of first-degree murder, and on July 8th, he was sentenced to death. He was given a choice: hanging or shooting. And Joe said, "I'll take shooting. I've been shot a few times, so I guess I can stand it again." In a display of dark humor, Joe Hill's last telegram to Big Bill Haywood on November 18th, 1915 read, "It is 100 miles from here to Wyoming. Could you arrange to have my body hauled to the state line to be buried? Don't want to be found dead in Utah." Joe Hill was 36 years old when his execution took place in the early morning hours of November 19th, 1915 in Salt Lake City. Despite appeals and objections from the Swedish ambassador, Helen Keller, AFL President Samuel Gompers, and President Woodrow Wilson. The industrialists and their sympathizers in government had succeeded in eliminating one of the most visible and effective voices of the IWW.
And this is a headline from the Salt Lake City Tribune on the day that Joe Hill was killed, and it says, the governor turns deaf ear to Wilson's appeal. Hillstrom to be shot to death this morning. There's little doubt today that Joe Hill was executed because he was a foreigner and a well-known labor activist. He wrote something he called My Last Will. He wrote it as a poem the night before he was killed. And we are going to sing that for you right now. This music was written by John McCutcheon, and this is Joe Hill's last will.
My will is easy to decide, for there is nothing to divide. My kin don't need to fuss and moan. Moss does not cling to a rolling stone. My body, if I could choose, I would to ashes it reduce. Then let the merry breezes blow my dust to where some flowers grow. Perhaps some fading flower then would come to life and bloom again. This is my last and final will. Good luck to all of you, Joe Hill.